video, we are going to play a little bit with the layout of the things in our app, and we're also going to modify how things look using these things called, unsurprisingly, modifiers. So what you see on screen are two types of stacks that you can use in SwiftUI. You might have noticed in your code that there was something that said VStack, and when you put things on screen, everything you add shows up vertically below the next item. I'm going to show you something called an HStack, which will let you put things side by side. So the goal for all this is really to get from this layout, where your image is on top, followed by your name and your tagline, to this layout, where your image is on the left, then your text and tagline are below. So let's get started. This is my silly looking face from the previous video. What I'm going to do is I'm first going to show you that we have this thing right here called a VStack. This VStack has a curly brace over here. You can see this thing right here. It's a curly brace. Some people call it a curly bracket. And if you tap on it with your finger, it's going to select the entire chunk. Okay, the entire thing is a VStack that can be selected. All right, so I'm just going to press a arrow key, and I'm going to go up here and change this VStack to an HStack. And what that does is it now puts things from left to right. Okay, so the image is first, followed by the text, followed by this other text. And you'll notice that it goes from left to right because that's the default direction of text in the English language. If we were doing this on another device that's in the language that's right to left, like let's say Arabic, it would actually go from right to left. Okay, so for that reason, we call the first item here leading and the last item trailing. Okay, so leading is first, trailing is last. What I want to do now is I want to make sure that these two pieces of text are actually in a VStack, so they're not left to right, they're up and down. We can do this by composing your VStacks and HStacks together. So what we want to do is we want to start by typing VStack. Okay, make sure it's capital V, capital S, and the V and the S are together. They're not two separate words. Open curly brace and press enter. Now you need to select this text and paste it inside. If you have a keyboard, you can hold down Shift and press the arrow keys. Okay, if you don't have a keyboard, the best way to do it is to move your cursor over to the start of the letter T. Okay, with the on-screen keyboard, the best way to do this is to hold down the space bar. Let me just show you that real quick. All right, if I press this and I do show keyboard, okay, the best way to manipulate the cursor is to hold down the spacebar key, and you can actually shift your cursor around. All right, so move your cursor right here, okay, and get rid of the keyboard over here. And if you want to select the entire text, you can just tap on the word text, tap on it, and choose select as text. Then drag this handle down here to the bottom, okay, tap anywhere on screen and choose cut. If you have a keyboard, you can use Command X to cut. And now what you're going to do is you're going to go over here. You can either tap or press Command V, and you can tap and choose paste, and there you go. Now we have the two pieces of text in a VStack, one on top and one below. You'll notice that they're not quite aligned because this is a small piece of text that's center aligned, and this is another piece of text that's 2 lines long and is left aligned, but it's not quite where we want it to be. So if you want both of them to be left aligned, you can go over here and press open bracket, choose alignment, dot leading. Okay, so dot leading is the left edge. That means the edge that comes first. Okay, so this looks pretty good. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to increase the font size on my name right here. It just says text YJ, so it's the same size as the tagline. So I want to go down here. I'm going to type dot font bracket dot headline. And what that does is it increases it just a little bit. Okay, and there's a few more that are slightly larger. You can do dot large title. Okay, notice how I use autocomplete. And when I type .lar, .large title shows up. This is pretty big, all right? And these are the recommended built-in font sizes. These will adapt to the screen size of any device that you put this on. So on an Apple Watch, it would be a much smaller size physically, but it would actually still be larger than the rest of the text. If, however, you want a fixed font size, you can do .font, .system, size, let's say 50. Okay, so you get to control your font size a little bit more granularly. All right, So, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, I want this to be bold. I want this to be italic. Notice how I type in all these things that say dot. These are called modifiers. They modify the view that comes before it. It's a bit like typing something out in your word processor, selecting it and choosing bold and then choosing italic. Okay, so there's a few more I want to show you. Let's add some to this over here. This image, I'm going to say dot mask, open bracket, and I'm going to type in circle, open bracket, close bracket. Okay, there's a lot of brackets and things like that, and it takes a little bit of getting used to. Make sure you follow the same capitalization and spacing as I do. Okay, so if you don't like a circle, you can always just delete the thing inside dot mask, and you can choose rounded rectangle. And for this, you're going to need to give it a corner radius. Don't choose the one that says corner size, choose the one that says corner radius, and give this a number like 30, and you get a nice little capsule shape. Okay, what else can we do? We can give things padding. For example, this VStack, if you want it slightly further away from the HStack, you can give it a padding. So dot padding. Okay, notice that this thing applies itself to the entire VStack. And the great thing about this is that if you give it a padding, you can even give it a background color. So dot background of blue perhaps. And now that entire chunk over on the right hand side is blue in color. Okay, so what else can we do? We can again give this a mask of rounded rectangle, corner radius of 25. Okay, and then we can give it a padding again. All right, so you can keep stacking these. Okay, giving a padding first means that you give it some space and you fill in that space with a color. What if you want to change the color of your font as well? Let's go change the color of my font over here by using dot foreground style dot white. Okay, so there's a few colors you can choose from. If you just do dot foreground style and then type dot, it'll give you a few to choose from. There's background, bar, black, blue, brown, clear, cyan, and things like that. So I'll let you try this out. I'm going to choose a nice bright color because it's going to give better contrast. This isn't actually fantastic contrast. And I'd like you to play around with all these modifiers, give different colors to different things, add paddings, and add some masks. All right, see you in the next video.